No, I was not shot, but what I went through is much scarier. I will dive deeper into this in the upcoming slides. For now, I will start off by reading this quote that I heard recently. I don't care. I don't like the way she's starting to think. I don't like her thinking that it will stop. The purpose of this video is to 1. Tell my story, 2. Expose the perpetrators, and expose the organization or organizations that they are affiliated with, 3. To discuss the emotional toll this experience has had on me, 4. Present facts, evidence that validate the technology's existence. For instance, I will be going over patents in future videos. 5. Propose possible solutions. 6. Last but not least, is to get help. I will be diving more into these topics in the upcoming slides and in upcoming videos. My story started in the early 2000s when I was a sophomore in high school. It started in May of my sophomore year. Um, I remember I was like dancing in my room, and I remember I heard like a male voice I recognized that went to my high school would mention that, oh, she can't dance. I ignored it because I was like, I don't know what's going on. And then I remember a week later, like this is the week of Memorial Day weekend, I heard like 5 male voices, and 3 of them I recognized were from like my high school, and they were commenting about what I'm doing. They comment like, oh, she's doing this, or like she's reading, or she's doing her homework. And I remember this specific comment when I went to the bathroom, and I I had a hemorrhoid during that time, and one of them said, "Oh, she has a hemorrhoid. That's proof that she was a slut." And during that time period, there was a rumor that I was sleeping around, and that was just a big, very promiscuous at that time. So I became really freaked out because I like, okay, these people definitely could see me and they're definitely doing something that they're violating me, right? And but I didn't know how to articulate what was going on because I didn't know how this was happening. So I tried to like tell my sister, but I don't think she understood. So I just like went about my day, just like paranoid to go to the bathroom, paranoid to do a lot of things. And I remember like it was a Friday. I remember, yeah, Friday. It was around 9 p.m. I was watching Fairly Odd Parents, and then one of them, he was the lead at that time, mentioned like, "Oh, can we read her mind?" Once that happened, I heard what sounded like a light switch go off, and I visualized a woman. I got totally freaked out because I've never visualized anything in my life. I didn't know visualization was possible until that happened. So I went upstairs, went to sleep because I'm hoping that if I go to sleep, this will go away. And then when I woke up, I could hear these male voices. As I mentioned, some of them from high school, and some of them were like my neighbors. Like I think all these guys were in my neighborhood. Some of them were in high school, some of them like were the main perpetrators that lived right across the street from me. And what I did is that I tried to suffocate myself with a pillow. It didn't work. Then so for the next 3 or 4 days, I did not eat. Um, I did not take a shower. I tried to avoid the bathroom as much as possible, and then I had to go to school, unfortunately. I remember I took a day off, so I ended up going back to school on Wednesday instead of Tuesday. When I went back to school, I was hoping that it would be normal at school. However, during lunchtime is when I got really bad because whatever technology that they were using against me at home, they had it at school. So I could hear like people making fun of me. It was really loud, and I couldn't. Oh my gosh, I couldn't control like my thoughts. It was like really, it was crazy. I was very afraid. I don't know, like at that time I tried to compose myself, but I was very afraid. I did not know what was going on. I could not control my thoughts. A lot of people were making fun of me. I was terrified. And what I did is I actually like for the rest of the sophomore year, I had lunch at my chemistry teacher's class because I was too afraid to eat lunch outside. Um, I tried telling like one of my friends at that time. She gaslighted me. She wasn't a true friend. These perpetrators who were like actually my neighbors even bragged about it, and they were like, because I would like have to mow the lawn, and they would be outside like pretty much saying like, yeah, we did this, mocking about how like we targeted her. They would say that, and that's how like I knew for sure it was them. They would brag about it. um and then a lot of individuals in my high school actually reached out to them, which was, I feel like there were a lot of active participants. A lot of people did not like me at that time because of this rumor, so I was called an act, and people thought I did this to myself, and I was mocked. I was judged. People wanted to see me crack. It was very horrible. This is just like the first week and a half of what I'm explaining here. There's a lot more to this story, which I will talk about in another video. But I guess I experienced something very similar in college, and right now is not as bad. Unfortunately, I tried reaching out to some people who I thought would be supportive to me, and they weren't supportive at all. At all, they pretended that didn't happen. And I am currently still dealing with this. Now it's the main perpetrators who are my neighbors, and whoever is supporting them in this organization that is targeting me. I will dive into much more detail in the next video. So the perpetrators practically lived across the street from me. They were in their late 20s, early 30s. They were Caucasian men who presented themselves as teenagers or people in their late teens who just graduated from high school. They often interacted with people in my high school, and in hindsight, I believe they did that as one of their strategies to target people. From my experience, they have often targeted underage females. They bragged about this. They bragged about how they wanted to rape me and how they raped other teenagers. So I know this is a fact. In addition, when I was first targeted, they also mentioned that they want to use this as a form of pornography. Ironically, however, when I was first targeted, a lot of people hated me. I had a lot of judgment. There was a lot of rumors around me. And because of that, these perpetrators were able to present themselves as kind of the good guys. They often like bragged about how they mentioned that they just happened to come upon this technology, and they somehow understood me, and people would reach out to them to try to find out what was going on with me. The whole situation was ludicrous. I will dive deeper in my next video on this because it's a huge story. And that's pretty much it for now. At first, I thought they were lone rangers, but unfortunately, through my experience, I realized that there is actually an organization and a huge infrastructure that supports this type of torture and abuse. From my experience, I've learned that the purpose of this organization is to, one, see if they're able to change human behavior, and two, to see if they're able to control human behavior. Um, Throughout my experience, I've heard items or these perpetrators mention stuff as putting people into studies, like people who have been targeted, extending contracts, renewing contracts, broadcasting as individuals online. It seems like there is a huge customer base for this, and it also seems like there's a lot of money to be made. I'm unaware how they're able to get access to this type of technology. That's something that I'm still trying to figure out. I'm still trying to learn myself, but this is what I've learned so far. And it's quite terrifying, to be honest with you. The emotional toll has been very difficult for me. I've learned to protect my emotions as a result of what I've experienced. When I was first targeted, I had a lot of hatred towards me, a lot of judgment, as I mentioned in the previous slide. And because of that, I didn't feel like anyone would want to help me, if that makes any sense. I tried reaching out to some people and they were mean to me. There was a point where people like at least individuals in my school wanted to see me crack. I remember hearing that and being like terrified by that. So I've learned to like hold my emotions and put many layers on top of my emotions to protect myself. But the emotional toll has been hard because I've definitely felt violated. Um, Gosh, just so much. Just I felt violated in multiple ways. I felt like there was no one really there for me, and I was all alone, dealing with a terrifying situation where instead of receiving any empathy, I received judgment and hatred. So because of that, I've learned to feel alone and to try to protect myself in a cocoon because I've always felt like I've been alone. I will dive deeper into this in a future video, of course, because there's a lot to unravel here, but that's where I'm going to start for now. All right, so this is just to present the facts and present evidence that this technology does exist. The background on this slide is from a US patent 4858612A. This patent is one of the voice-to-skull technology patents. As you can see here, it was patented in August 22nd, 1989. I will not dive into too much detail on this patent, just because that's something I'm going to go over on my future videos. I have provided the link below for your reference. You can Google this yourselves as well. And I've also provided another link from the United Nations. The United Nations did send out a questionnaire on torture. A lot of people who are targeted with this type of technology did respond to the questionnaire, and it was or may still be on the United Nations website. So I provided the link to that as well. Feel free to check that out. So on to the proposed solutions. I'm hoping there's a lot out there, a lot of proposed solutions. I could only come up with a couple, but I'm hoping there's a lot more out there. For one of mine is that for law enforcement to recognize that this type of crime exists. There are many people out there, people I have interacted with, individuals I've interacted with who are going through a similar experience, and they are afraid to go to the police because they're scared that they'll be put in a psychiatric hold. And this happened to people. It's happened to people I've encountered that have a similar experience, and they've been put into a 72-hour psychiatric hold, which is very difficult. One, because what you're going through is completely dismissed. And two, since you are put into a psychiatric hold, it's hard for you to go into court and fight and say these people have done it because essentially you're already considered unstable in the court of law. My second proposed solution would be if the psychology community would recognize that this type of technology exists. I'm not saying that mental health doesn't exist. I'm very aware that mental health does exist and people who have mental health problems should take medication. I know there's an epidemic right now that a lot of us are suffering from anxiety and depression. So I'm very aware that mental health problems do exist. However, this technology does exist as well. There are government patents that specifically prove that this technology exists, and we need to recognize that it does exist, because there's a lot of people who are suffering from this type of technology and they're too afraid to come out and speak up because they don't know where to go. They don't know who will believe them. They don't know if they will be dismissed. So they suffer in silence. I want that to stop. The goal is to get help for myself and to get help for other people who are dealing with the similar circumstances as I am. In addition, the goal is for us to be able to speak up on this as a collective and not be afraid of dismissal or rejection from us telling our story. For me, it's been very hard for me to get to this point. For many years, I struggled with this. I struggled with like, wow, how is something so evil happening? I also been gaslighted by some of the people I've reached out to, so which has built another level of insecurity in speaking up. And in addition, I've always had that fear of like, am I going to be dismissed or am I going to be rejected for telling my story? So that's something I've dealt with for a long time. I'm still trying to grow and get braver day by day. As you can see, I still have a ways to go. I haven't disclosed my name and I haven't disclosed my face, which I most likely will not do in the near future. My goal is to get to that point where I feel comfortable in disclosing my name and my face. But the ultimate goal, is for these atrocities to completely end for myself and for other people who have got or are enduring these atrocities as well, and hopefully make this world a better place. That's it for me, and thank you so much, and I wish you the best.